There is something about tomorrow that does not feel ordinary, and deep down, you already sense it. You may not be able to explain it. You may still be planning your morning the same way, waking up, checking your phone, rushing through breakfast, stepping into the same routine you've repeated 100 times before. But something inside you, something quiet yet persistent, hath been whispering, "Pay attention. This is not just another day. This is not just another commute. This is not just another shift at work." And the fact that you are hearing this right now, at this exact moment, is not coincidence. It is interruption. Divine interruption. Archangel Michael is not waiting until you clock in. He is not waiting until things go wrong. He is not waiting until confusion surrounds you. He is stepping in before your routine begins, before your mind gets distracted, before your spirit gets pulled into noise, before the world has a chance to shape your mood, your decisions, your reactions, because something is already in motion. Have you noticed how lately things have felt slightly off? Not grammatically wrong, not completely broken, but just enough to make you pause, just enough to make you question certain conversations, certain looks, certain energies around you. It's like walking into a room and feeling a shift, even when nothing is visibly different. That feeling is not random. That feeling is awareness awakening. And tomorrow, June 4th, that awareness is going to matter more than you think. Because what looks like an ordinary workday is actually a spiritual intersection. A moment where decisions, reactions, and even small choices will carry unusual weight. You might be thinking, it's just work. It's just another day. But what if it's not? What if tomorrow holds a conversation that changes your direction? What if it reveals something hidden? What if it places you in front of an opportunity or a trap disguised as something normal? This is why Archangel Michael is speaking now. Not to scare you, but to prepare you. Not to confuse you, but to sharpen you. Because most people walk into their days half aware, distracted, emotionally unguarded, spiritually asleep. They react instead of discern. They absorb instead of filter. They trust what looks familiar instead of questioning what feels off. But you are being called to walk differently tomorrow. You are being called to step into your day with eyes that see beyond the surface. Because there are moments coming, subtle ones, that will test your awareness. A tone in someone's voice, a sudden change in plans, an interaction that feels slightly uncomfortable, a decision that seems small but isn't. And in those moments, you will either move unconsciously or you will move with divine clarity. This is the difference between being led and being misled. Archangel Michael is standing at the edge of your tomorrow, not as a distant figure, but as a protector, a guide, a watcher of what you cannot yet see. And he is saying, do not enter this day casually, because while you are preparing for work, heaven is preparing you. While you are thinking about tasks, deadlines, responsibilities, there is something deeper being aligned, shifted, and positioned around your life. And here is what makes this moment so powerful. Nothing may look unusual when the day begins. Everything may feel normal. But beneath that normal, something is waiting. Something that requires you to be alert, present, grounded, aware. This is why this message reached you before you go to sleep or before you wake up. Because once the day starts, distractions will try to take over. Your phone, your thoughts, other people's energy, your own habits. And if you are not careful, you will miss the very thing you were meant to see. But not this time. Not now. Because now you know. Now you are aware. Now you are positioned differently. So when you wake up on June 4th, you will not move like you did yesterday. You will listen more closely, observe more deeply, discern more carefully, because something is about to unfold and you were meant to be ready for it. Type "I am alert" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1717 is now activated around your path. There is a reason why you felt tired even when you've had enough rest. There is a reason why your mind has been louder than usual, replaying conversations, questioning intentions, overanalyzing moments that should have passed easily. There is a reason why certain days felt heavier than they should, why simple tasks seem to drain more energy than normal, and why your spirit has been carrying something you couldn't quite name. This has not been random. This has not been just stress. This has been a silent battle. Not the kind that announces itself loudly. Not the kind that breaks everything at once. But the kind that moves quietly, strategically, slowly, applying pressure in places you don't immediately notice. A battle that doesn't show up as chaos, but as subtle disruption. A shift in your peace. A weight in your thoughts. A feeling that something is slightly off, even when everything looks fine on the surface. You've tried to push through it, haven't you? You told yourself to stay focused, to keep going, to ignore the feeling, to not overthink, to not assume the worst. And on the outside, you've done exactly that. You showed up. You handled your responsibilities. You kept things moving. But inside there has been tension. Moments where your energy dropped without explanation. Moments where your patience felt thinner. Moments where you questioned things you normally wouldn't question. And maybe even moments where you felt disconnected from your clarity, from your confidence, from your sense of direction. That is what makes this battle so deceptive. Because it doesn't look like a battle. It looks like life. It looks like routine. It looks like just one of those days. But Archangel Michael is revealing something deeper to you right now. He is pulling back the veil on what you've been experiencing and showing you that what you've been feeling is not weakness, it is awareness under pressure. You have been sensing more than you realized. You have been picking up on energies, intentions, and shifts around you that your conscious mind hasn't fully processed yet. Your spirit has been alert even when your thoughts tried to rationalize everything. That uneasy feeling, that pause in your intuition, that moment where something didn't sit right, those were not coincidences. Those were signals. And the reason they felt confusing is because the battle has been subtle. Not obvious enough to confront directly. Not clear enough to fully understand. Just enough to keep you slightly off balance. And when you are slightly off balance, you are easier to distract, easier to influence, easier to pull away from clarity. That is how this kind of pressure works. It doesn't need to break you. It just needs to blur you. But here is what changes everything. You are not aware anymore. The moment you recognize that what you've been feeling has meaning, the moment you stop dismissing your intuition, the moment you begin to trust that inner signal instead of silencing it, the entire dynamic shifts. Because now, you are no longer moving unconsciously. You are no longer just reacting. You are beginning to see. And this is exactly why this message is reaching you before tomorrow. Because the same subtle pressure you've been feeling has been preparing you for something specific. It has been sharpening your awareness, even if it felt uncomfortable. It has been training your discernment, even if it felt confusing. It has been waking up a part of you that refuses to ignore what doesn't feel right. And tomorrow, that awareness is going to matter. Because you are walking into an environment where everything may appear normal, but not everything will be aligned. You may notice it in small ways. A conversation that feels forced. a situation that doesn't add up, a decision that feels rushed, an interaction that leaves you questioning afterward. These are not things to fear. These are things to recognize, because once you recognize them, they lose their power to influence you blindly. This is what Archangel Michael is preparing you for. Not to make you anxious, but to make you alert. Not to make you suspicious of everything, but to make you aware of what deserves your attention. Because the battle you've been feeling was never meant to defeat you. It was meant to wake you up, to shift you from autopilot into awareness, to move you from reacting into discerning. And now that shift is happening. You are not the same version of yourself that ignored the signs. You are not the same version of yourself that brushed off your intuition. You are stepping into tomorrow with something stronger. Clarity. And when clarity meets awareness, the silent battle loses its advantage. Because you are no longer moving through your day blindly. You are moving with intention. You are moving with presence. You are moving with the understanding that what you feel matters. So as June 4th approaches, remember this. What felt like pressure was preparation. What felt like confusion was calibration. What felt like heaviness was a signal. And now, you are ready to see what you couldn't see before. Type "I trust my discernment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2222 is now activated around your awareness. There is something you need to understand right now, and you need to understand it clearly, without distraction, without doubt, and without delay. This is not just preparation anymore. This is a warning. Archangel Michael is not speaking gently in this moment. He is not hinting. He is not suggesting. He is stepping forward with authority, with urgency, and with precision, because something is already unfolding within the next 24 hours. And whether you walk into it prepared or unprepared will depend on what you choose to do with this message. You have felt the buildup, haven't you? That subtle pressure we spoke about, that quiet tension, that sense that something is shifting behind the scenes. It has not been leading nowhere. It has been leading here. To this exact moment. To this exact warning. Because tomorrow is not just another day you will pass through. Tomorrow is a day that will try to pass through you. And that is the difference most people fail to understand. Most people think they move through their day, making choices, reacting to events, handling situations as they come. But what they do not see is that certain days carry weight, and those days begin to move toward them before they even wake up. Conversations begin aligning. Situations begin forming. Decisions begin waiting. And by the time they step into the day, everything is already in motion. June 4th is one of those days. Archangel Michael is revealing that there is a sequence already unfolding around you. Not chaos, not danger in the way you might imagine, but alignment that requires precision, moments that require awareness, interactions that require discernment. And here is the warning. If you walk into tomorrow distracted, emotionally reactive, or spiritually unaware, you will miss what you were meant to see, and you may step into something you were meant to avoid. This is not about fear. This is about positioning. Because there are two paths that can unfold within the same day. One where you move unconsciously, reacting to everything at face value, trusting what looks normal, speaking without filtering, agreeing without questioning, stepping forward without pausing. And another where you move with awareness, where you pause before responding, where you listen beyond words, where you observe before acting, where you sense what is beneath the surface instead of only what is presented. The difference between these two paths will not be obvious in the moment. It will feel small. It will feel like a simple choice, a quick response, a casual agreement. A conversation you didn't think twice about. A decision you made without checking your inner signal. But those small moments are where everything shifts. Archangel Michael is making this clear. Tomorrow will not test your strength. It will test your awareness. Because what is coming will not look like a problem. It will look normal. But is where people get caught. That is where they overlook signals. That is where they ignore their intuition. That is where they move too quickly, speak too freely, trust too easily, and only realize later that something was not aligned. But you are not being sent into tomorrow blind. You are being warned ahead of time. There is something you must watch carefully. A moment where you will feel a slight hesitation inside you. A pause. A subtle resistance. It may not make sense logically. It may not seem important. But it will be there. That moment is your signal. That is where Archangel Michael is guiding you. And if you ignore it, you may step into something unnecessary. If you honor it, you will avoid what was not meant for you. This is why the urgency is here. Because most people override that feeling. They talk themselves out of it. They rationalize it. They dismiss it because everything looks fine. But tomorrow is not a day to override your awareness. It is a day to trust it. Archangel Michael is not asking you to be fearful. He is asking you to be precise. Watch your words. Watch your reactions. Watch where your attention goes. Watch how quickly you agree to things. Watch how certain people approach you. Because there is something that will try to pull you into a direction that is not aligned with your path. Not aggressively. Not obviously. But subtly. And subtle is what makes it powerful. Unless you are aware. And now, you are. You have been given the advantage most people do not have. You have been told before it happens. You have been prepared before the moment arrives. You have been positioned to respond differently. So when tomorrow comes, you will not move casually. You will move intentionally. You will not react instantly. You will pause. You will not ignore your inner signal. You will trust it. Because this is not just about avoiding something. This is about aligning with something greater that is trying to unfold for you. And alignment requires awareness. So hear this clearly. Do not rush into tomorrow. Do not carry yesterday's mindset into it. Do not let distractions take over your attention. Because within the next 24 hours, something will present itself and how you respond will matter more than you realize. Type "I am ready and aware" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 3333 is now activated around your decisions. As this warning settles into your spirit, understand this truth. When you respond to divine instruction, you don't just protect your path, you become a light for someone else still walking in confusion. This message is not stopping with you. It is meant to flow through you, like a river carrying truth into places where darkness still lingers. The word says, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days." And right now, that bread is this message reaching souls who need clarity. I feel this in my spirit. This is your moment to act, not just listen. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks with a PayPal link in the description, you are fueling the spread of divine warnings that awaken lives. This is not giving. This is alignment. This is obedience in motion. And as you release, heaven will release back into your life in ways you cannot predict. Step into it now. There is more happening in your workplace than what your eyes can see. And the sooner you accept this, the more clearly you will begin to understand why certain days feel heavier than others, why certain people shift without explanation, and why some environments seem to drain you even when nothing obvious has occurred. Because your workplace is not just a physical location. It is an energetic environment. It is a space where intentions, emotions, pressures, and unspoken dynamics move constantly beneath the surface. And while most people walk into that environment focused only on tasks, deadlines, and responsibilities, very few realize that they are also stepping into layers of unseen influence that affect how they think, how they feel, and how they respond. This is where many people lose their clarity. They enter their workplace unaware, unguarded, and unprepared for what is already active around them. They absorb stress that is not theirs. They react to tension they don't fully understand. They get pulled into conversations, attitudes, and reactions that slowly shift their mindset without them even realizing it. And by the time the day ends, they feel drained, confused, disconnected without knowing why. But you are being shown something different. Archangel Michael is revealing that tomorrow, when you step into your workplace, you are not just entering a routine environment. You are stepping into a space where certain energies have already been building, where certain tensions have already been forming, and where certain intentions are already in motion. This does not mean danger in the way you might imagine. It means awareness is required, because not everything around you is aligned with your peace. Not everything around you is aligned with your clarity, and not everything around you is meant to be carried by you. There are conversations that carry hidden weight. There are attitudes that shift the atmosphere. There are individuals who operate from pressure, frustration, or even quiet competition, and that energy does not stay contained within them. It moves. It spreads. It influences the environment. And if you are not aware, you will begin to absorb it. This is how people lose themselves in workplaces, not because of the work itself, but because of what they unknowingly take on from others. A negative tone becomes your mood. Someone else's stress becomes your tension. A subtle conflict becomes your internal distraction. And suddenly, you are carrying things that were never yours to begin with. But this is where your awareness changes everything. Because once you understand that not everything you feel belongs to you, you stop claiming it. You begin to separate what is yours from what is not. You begin to observe instead of absorb. You begin to stay grounded instead of being pulled. And this is exactly what Archangel Michael is preparing you to do. Tomorrow, when you enter your workplace, there will be moments where you feel a shift. It may happen when you walk into a room. It may happen during a conversation. It may happen when someone speaks to you in a certain way. You will feel it instantly, that subtle change in your energy, that slight discomfort, that internal signal that something is off. And in that moment, you will have a choice. You absorb it or to observe it. If you absorb it, you will carry it with you. It will influence your thoughts, your reactions, your focus. But if you observe it, you will remain in control. You will see it for what it is, something external, something passing through the environment, something that does not belong to you. This is how you stay protected without even needing to fight anything. This is how you remain steady while others become reactive. This is how you move through the same environment but experience it differently. Because your awareness becomes your filter. Archangel Michael is not asking you to change your workplace. He is not asking you to confront everyone around you. He is asking you to recognize what is happening beneath the surface and to stay aligned within yourself. Because there is something important you need to understand. Not every interaction tomorrow will be straightforward. Some will carry layers. Some will test your reactions. Some will try to pull you into emotional responses that are not necessary. And the moment you respond unconsciously, you lose your clarity. But the moment you pause, observe, and choose your response carefully, you remain in control. This is what separates those who get pulled into unnecessary tension from those who move through it unaffected. And tomorrow, you are being called to be the one who moves differently. You are not entering your workplace to be influenced. You are entering it with awareness. You are entering it grounded. You are entering it knowing that what is around you does not define you. Because when you carry that understanding, nothing external can easily shift you. And that is where your strength truly shows. So when you walk into your workplace on June 4th, do not just look at what is happening. Feel what is happening. Notice what shifts. Pay attention to what doesn't sit right. And most importantly, do not claim anything that is not yours. Because the moment you stop absorbing what surrounds you is the moment you begin to move through it with clarity. Type "I remain grounded" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 4444 is now activated around your environment. There is something about you that not everyone can explain, but many can feel. You may have noticed it in small, almost unspoken ways. The way certain people watch you a little longer than necessary. The way conversations shift when you enter a room. The way some individuals seem drawn to you without understanding why, while others feel strangely uncomfortable around you without any clear reason. You may have questioned it before. You may have wondered, is it just in my head? You may have tried to dismiss it, to rationalize it, to make it seem normal. But Archangel Michael is revealing something to you now that you can no longer ignore. There is an assignment on your life. Not something visible. Not something you walk around announcing. But something that exists within you, something that carries weight, presence, and influence beyond what you fully see in yourself right now. And people can sense it. Not consciously, not always clearly, but energetically. This is why their reactions don't always match your actions. This is why you can be kind, respectful, and calm yet still feel resistance from certain individuals. This is why you can mind your own business yet somehow become the focus of attention, observation, or subtle tension. Because it is not always about what you do. It is about what you carry. You carry a level of awareness that others have not yet reached. You carry a level of presence that quietly shifts environments. You carry a clarity that, even when unspoken, challenges confusion around you. And not everyone is comfortable with that. Some people are drawn to it. They feel safe around you. They feel understood without needing to explain themselves. They feel a sense of calm they cannot find elsewhere, and they may not even know why. But others feel exposed. Not because you are trying to expose them, but because your presence naturally highlights what they have not addressed within themselves. Your clarity reflects their confusion. Your awareness contrasts their avoidance. Your steadiness challenges their instability. And when people feel that contrast, they react. Sometimes subtly. Sometimes through small comments, slight changes in tone, or passive behavior that doesn't quite make sense on the surface. Sometimes through competition that you never initiated. Sometimes through distance that appears without explanation. This is what happens when someone carries something others cannot fully understand. And this is exactly why tomorrow matters. Because when you step into your workplace, you are not just stepping in as an employee, a colleague, or a team member. You are stepping in with that assignment. And even if you say nothing about it, even if you act the same as you always do, it will still be felt. This is why certain interactions tomorrow may feel different. Because the awareness within you has already been activated. And when your awareness rises, so does the sensitivity of the environment around you. You will begin to notice more. Not because things suddenly changed, but because you are now seeing what was always there. And at the same time, others will begin to respond to you differently. Not necessarily in obvious ways, but in subtle shifts. a hesitation in their words, a change in how they approach you, an unspoken tension that wasn't there before. This is not something to fear. This is something to understand. Because once you understand it, you stop taking things personally. You stop questioning yourself unnecessarily. You stop wondering, what did I do wrong? Because you realize it is not about what you did. It is about what you carry. Archangel Michael wants you to hold on to this truth tomorrow. Do not shrink your presence to make others comfortable. Do not dim your awareness to fit into environments that operate unconsciously. Do not second-guess your intuition just because others move differently. Because the assignment on your life requires you to stay aligned with yourself, not with the expectations or reactions of those around you. And there will be a moment tomorrow where this becomes clear. A moment where you will feel the urge to either stay true to your awareness or adjust yourself to match what is happening around you. That moment will matter. Because when you adjust yourself away from your awareness, you lose your alignment. But when you remain steady, when you trust what you sense, when you stay grounded in your clarity, everything around you begins to reveal itself more clearly. This is how you move through situations without being confused by them. This is how you recognize intentions without needing them to be spoken. This is how you stay unaffected by reactions that are not truly about you. Because you understand the deeper layer. You understand that your presence carries something, and not everyone will respond to it the same way. So as you move through your day, remember this. You are not imagining the shifts you feel. You are not overthinking the reactions you notice. You are not misreading the subtle changes around you. You are becoming aware of them. And that awareness is part of your assignment. Do not ignore it. Do not question it unnecessarily. Trust it. Because the more you trust it, the more clearly everything around you will begin to make sense. Type "I walk in my purpose" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 5555 is now activated around your presence. Before you step out of your door tomorrow, before your day even begins, there is a decision that must be made. And this decision will not be visible to anyone else. No one at your workplace will know it. And no one will ask you about it. And no one will see it happen. But it will shape everything that follows once you leave your home. Because long before your environment tries to influence you, you must decide who you are going to be within it. This is where most people lose control of their day. They don't decide beforehand. They wake up and immediately react. They check their phone. They absorb messages, notifications, other people's energy, other people's opinions. They rush into their routine without grounding themselves. And by the time they step outside, they are already scattered, already influenced, already pulled in different directions. And then they wonder why their day feels unpredictable, why their emotions shift so quickly, why their focus breaks so easily, why they feel controlled by what happens around them instead of grounded within themselves. But Archangel Michael is stopping you before that happens. He is bringing you into a moment of stillness before movement. Because what you decide in stillness determines how you move in motion. Tomorrow, before you leave your home, you will be faced with a quiet but powerful choice. You can step into your day unconsciously, or you can step into it with intention. You can carry the same reactive mindset from yesterday, or you can choose to move differently. You can allow your environment to define your state, or you can define your state before your environment has a chance to touch it. This is the decision, and it must be made before you walk out the door. Because once you enter your workplace, everything begins moving quickly. Conversations start. Tasks demand your attention. People approach you. Situations unfold. And in that flow, if you have not already grounded yourself, you will begin reacting instead of choosing. But if you decide before and everything changes, you begin your day with awareness already active. You step into your environment with clarity already established. You carry a sense of control that does not come from outside circumstances but from within you. Archangel Michael is asking you to be intentional about this moment. When you wake up on June 4th, do not rush. Do not immediately give your attention away. Pause, even if it is just for a few moments. Because in that pause, you are setting the foundation for your entire day. In that pause, you are reminding yourself of what you already know. That you will not move blindly. That you will not react impulsively. That you will not ignore your intuition. That you will stay aware, grounded, and present. This is not something complicated. It is simple but powerful. Because once you decide this internally, it becomes your anchor. And when moments arise throughout the day when something feels off, when a situation shifts, when a conversation carries weight, you will return to that anchor. You will remember that you chose awareness. You will remember that you chose clarity. You will remember that you chose not to be pulled into things unconsciously, and that remembrance will guide your actions. There is something else you need to understand about this decision. It is not about controlling everything that happens. It is about controlling how you respond to what happens. Because you cannot predict every situation tomorrow. You cannot control every interaction. But you can control your state. You can control your awareness. You can control how quickly you react or whether you pause. And that is where your power lies. There will be a moment tomorrow where this decision will show its importance. A moment where something unexpected happens. A moment where you feel a reaction rising inside you. A moment where you are about to respond automatically the way you always have. And in that moment you will either follow your old pattern or you will remember the decision you made before you left your home. That moment will define the direction of what follows. Because when you break automatic reactions, you create new outcomes. You shift the pattern. You change the flow of the situation. And you move differently than you have before. This is why Archangel Michael is emphasizing this now. Because the power of tomorrow is not just in what happens. It is in how you meet what happens. So before you step outside, before you begin your routine, before your day takes shape, decide that you will remain aware. Decide that you will trust what you feel. Decide that you will not rush into reactions. Decide that you will move with intention, not impulse. Because once that decision is made, you will not walk into your day unprepared. You will walk into it grounded. And when you are grounded, nothing external can easily move you off your center. Type "I choose awareness" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 6666 is now activated around your decisions. There is something waiting within your day tomorrow, and it is not as obvious as you might expect. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not something that immediately looks like a problem. In fact, that is exactly what makes it dangerous, because it does not announce itself as a trap. It appears normal. It feels familiar. It comes in a form you would not immediately question. And that is why so many people fall into it without realizing what has happened until later. Archangel Michael is revealing this now so that you do not move into it blindly. Because this is not about something attacking you directly. This is about something trying to pull you subtly into a direction that does not serve you. And if you are not aware, you will step into it willingly. The trap will not look like a threat. It may look like a simple conversation. It may come through someone approaching you casually, speaking in a tone that feels normal, asking something that seems harmless on the surface. But beneath that surface, there will be a layer that does not sit right with you. A slight discomfort, a hesitation you cannot explain, a feeling that something is off even if the words themselves sound fine. This is your signal. But here is where most people make the mistake. They ignore that signal. They override it because they do not want to seem rude. They dismiss it because they do not want to overthink. They push past it because everything appears fine. And in doing so, they step into something they were meant to avoid. The trap may also come in the form of a situation. Something that requires a quick decision. Something that feels rushed. Something that pressures you to respond immediately without giving yourself time to think or feel into it. This is another signal. Because anything that pushes you to act quickly without awareness is something that needs to be approached carefully. Archangel Michael is making this clear. Tomorrow is not a day to rush your responses. It is a day to pause. Because the trap depends on your speed. It depends on you reacting before you think. It depends on you agreeing before you feel. It depends on you moving before you are fully aware of what is happening. But the moment you slow down, the moment you pause, the moment you give yourself even a few seconds to check in with your intuition, the trap begins to lose its power. Because it cannot function without your unconscious participation. There is also another form this trap may take. It may come through emotion. A situation that triggers you unexpectedly. A comment that feels slightly provoking. A moment that pulls you into irritation, frustration, or defensiveness. And before you realize it, you are reacting. To begin quickly. Responding emotionally. Engaging in something that pulls you away from your center. This is another layer. Because once your emotions are triggered, your awareness drops. And when your awareness drops, you are easier to influence. This is how situations escalate unnecessarily. This is how small moments turn into larger problems. Not because they were meant to, but because the reaction created momentum. But you are not stepping into tomorrow unprepared. You have already been shown what to look for. You know the signals. You know the feeling. You know the moment when something does not sit right. And that is where your power lies. Not in controlling what comes toward you, but in controlling how you respond to it. If a conversation feels off, you do not need to engage fully. If a situation feels right, you do not need to decide immediately. If an emotion begins to rise, you do not need to react instantly. You can pause. You can step back internally. You can give yourself space to observe what is happening instead of being pulled into it. And in that space, clarity returns. In that space, you begin to see what is really happening beneath the surface. And once you see it, you are no longer caught in it. Archangel Michael is not asking you to avoid your entire day. He's asking you to move through it with awareness. To recognize when something is trying to pull you out of alignment. To trust the signals you feel instead of dismissing them. Because the trap only works when you ignore what you already sense. But when you trust your awareness, when you pause instead of rushing, when you observe instead of absorbing, the trap dissolves before it can fully form. And what could have become unnecessary tension simply passes by you without impact. This is how you move differently. This is how you stay in control. This is how you protect your clarity without needing to confront everything around you. So as you step into tomorrow, remember this. Not everything that appears normal is aligned. Not everything that feels familiar is safe to engage with. And not every moment requires an immediate response. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to step back. You are allowed to trust what you feel even if you cannot explain it. Because that is what will guide you away from what is not meant for you. Type "I move" with discernment in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 7777 is now activated around your path. There is something else happening tomorrow that you cannot see, but it is just as real as everything you will experience. While you are preparing to step into your day, while conversations are aligning and situations are forming, there is also protection being activated around you. Not in a distant or symbolic way, but in a precise and intentional way that is responding directly to your awareness. Archangel Michael is not only warning you, he's covering you. But here is what you must understand clearly. Protection is not something you passively receive. It is something you align with. Because protection does not remove every situation from your path. It does not stop every interaction. And it prevent every moment of tension. What it does is position you in such a way that what was meant to affect you outreach you in the same way. And that positioning depends on your awareness. The moment you begin to move consciously, the moment you start trusting your intuition, the moment you choose to pause instead of react, something shifts around you. You may not see it, but you will feel it. A sense of steadiness where there would have been confusion. A sense of clarity where there would have been pressure. A sense of distance from things that would have normally pulled you in. This is how protection works. It does not always remove the situation. It removes your vulnerability to it. And tomorrow, that protection will be active in ways you will only recognize if you are paying attention. There will be moments where something tries to reach you but doesn't fully land. A conversation that could have escalated but fades. A situation that could have drawn you in but passes by. A reaction that could have pulled you off balance but you remain steady. These are not coincidences. These are signs. Signs that you are aligned. Signs that you are not moving unconsciously. Signs that the awareness you carry is working in your favor. Archangel Michael is standing in a position you cannot physically see, but his presence is not passive. It is active, observant, and responsive to how you move. Every time you choose awareness over reaction, that protection strengthens. Every time you trust your intuition instead of ignoring it, that protection sharpens. Every time you pause instead of rushing, that protection holds. But the moment you begin to ignore what you feel, the moment you override your awareness, the moment you move impulsively, you step out of that alignment. And this is why tomorrow requires intention. Because the protection is there, but it must be met halfway. You must choose to remain present. You must choose to stay grounded. You must choose to trust what you sense instead of dismissing it. There is also something else you will notice if you remain aware. Certain things will not reach you the same way they would have before. Words that once would have affected you will feel distant. Situations that once would have pulled you in will feel irrelevant. Reactions that once would have triggered you will not carry the same weight. This is not because those things have disappeared. It is because you are no longer positioned to absorb them. This is the difference between being protected and being reactive. When you are reactive, everything around you has access to you. But when you are protected through awareness, not everything is allowed to reach you. And this is what Archangel Michael is reinforcing within you. You are not meant to carry everything. You are not meant to engage with everything. You are not meant to respond to everything. You are meant to move with discernment. Because discernment is what keeps you aligned with protection. There will be a moment tomorrow where you will recognize this clearly. A moment where something unfolds, and instead of reacting the way you normally would, you remain calm. You observe. You pause. And you realize that you are not being pulled into it. That moment will feel different. Not dramatic. Not overwhelming. But steady. Clear. Controlled. And in that moment, you will understand what is happening. You will understand that you are not moving the same way you used to. That you are not absorbing everything around you. That you are not reacting without awareness. And that realization will confirm everything you have been prepared for. Because protection is not always visible, but it is always felt when you are aligned with it. So as you move through June 4th, remember this. You are not stepping into your day alone. You are stepping into it covered, but only if you remain aware. You are stepping into it guided, but only if you choose to listen. You are stepping into it protected, but only if you stay aligned with what you already feel. Because everything you need to move through tomorrow is already within you. And the moment you trust that, the protection around you becomes undeniable. Type "I am protected and aware" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 8888 is now activated around your path. As this protection settles over your spirit, understand this: every time you align with divine guidance, you become a vessel of light for someone else still walking in darkness. This message is not meant to stop with you. It is meant to flow through you like a river, carrying truth into lives that are still unaware. The word declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And in this moment, that giving becomes a living act of obedience. I feel this strongly. This is your moment to step forward in faith. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, with a PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a channel. You are igniting a movement that reaches souls who need protection, clarity, and awakening. This is a prophetic act. This is alignment in motion. And as you release, heaven will multiply it back into your life in ways beyond your expectation. Step into this moment now. There is a moment waiting for you tomorrow, and it will not announce itself loudly. It will not come with a warning. It will not stand out in a way that everyone notices. But you will feel it. Because something is going to shift the moment you step into your workplace. And this shift is not external first, it is internal. And that internal shift will begin to change how everything around you appears. You will walk into the same environment. You will see the same people. You will hear the same kinds of conversations. But something will feel different. Not because everything around you has suddenly changed, but because you have. The awareness you have been building, the discernment you have been activating, the stillness you chose before leaving your home, all of it will begin to take effect the moment you arrive. And this is where the shift begins. Because instead of reacting to your environment, you will start observing it. Instead of absorbing everything around you, you will begin filtering it. Instead of moving automatically, you will begin moving intentionally. This may feel subtle at first. You may not even fully recognize it immediately. But there will be a moment where it becomes clear. A moment where you catch yourself pausing instead of reacting. A moment where you notice something others overlook. A moment where you feel guided to step back instead of stepping in. And in that moment the shift will reveal itself. Because you will realize that you are no longer operating the way you used to. You are no longer being pulled into every situation. You are no longer responding to every tone, every comment, every shift in the environment. You are choosing. And that choice changes everything. There is also something else that will begin to happen as this shift takes place. You will start seeing patterns more clearly. Things that once felt confusing will begin to make sense. You will notice how certain conversations lead in specific directions. You will recognize how certain individuals behave consistently beneath different situations. You will begin to see the underlying structure of what is happening around you, not just the surface. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. This is where your clarity strengthens. Because confusion only exists when you are unaware. But once awareness is present, confusion begins to dissolve. And as your clarity strengthens, your reactions naturally change. You will speak less but with more intention. You will engage less but with more purpose. You will respond less emotionally and more consciously. And this will create a noticeable difference in how your day unfolds. Situations that once pulled you in will not have the same effect. Conversations that once drained you will not carry the same weight. Moments that once confused you will feel easier to navigate. This is not because the environment has changed. It is because you are no longer moving through it unconsciously. Archangel Michael is showing you that this shift is not temporary. It is a beginning. A moment where you step into a different way of moving, a different level of awareness, a different level of control over your own responses. And once this begins, it will continue to grow. But there is one thing you must remain mindful of. Do not fall back into old patterns once you feel this shift, because there will be moments where you are tempted to respond the way you used to. Moments where something triggers you. Moments where you feel the pull to react quickly, to engage fully, to step back into familiar behaviors. And in those moments you must remember what you have already recognized. You must remember that you have seen beyond the surface. You must remember that you have felt the difference between reacting and choosing. Because once you return to old patterns, the clarity fades. But when you remain steady, the clarity deepens. There is also something powerful about how others will begin to perceive you during this shift. They may not understand it. They may not be able to explain it. But they will notice. They will notice that you are not reacting the same way. They will notice that you are not engaging the same way. They will notice that you are not as easily influenced as before. And that will change how they approach you. Not always in obvious ways, but in subtle shifts. And those shifts will confirm what you already feel. That something has changed. That you are moving differently. That you are no longer operating at the same level of awareness as before. This is the beginning of alignment. A moment where your internal state begins to guide your external experience. The moment where you stop being shaped by your environment and start moving through it with intention. So when you step into your workplace tomorrow, do not expect something dramatic. Do not look for something obvious. Instead, pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to how you feel. Pay attention to how you respond. Pay attention to what you notice. Because the shift will begin within you, and from there, everything else will follow. Type ISE clearly now in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 9999 is now activated around your awareness. There is someone within your environment tomorrow, and you must pay attention to how you feel around them. This is not about suspicion. This is not about judgment. This is about discernment. Because not every interaction you have tomorrow will carry the same weight, but one interaction in particular will require more awareness than the others. You may already have a sense of who this could be. Not because anything obvious has happened, but because there had been a subtle inconsistency in their presence. A feeling you could never fully explain. A moment where something did not sit right, even though nothing was clearly wrong. That feeling was not meaningless. It was your awareness trying to show you something before you were ready to see it. And tomorrow, that awareness will return stronger, clearer, and more direct. Archangel Michael is not pointing you toward this person to create conflict. He is pointing you toward clarity. Because this individual does not operate in a way that is immediately visible. Their words may sound right. Their tone may appear calm. Your approach may seem normal. But beneath that surface, there is a layer that does not fully align with what they present. And that is where discernment becomes necessary. You will notice it in subtle ways. Not through what they say alone, but through how it feels when they say it. There may be a slight hesitation in your spirit. A quiet resistance. A sense that something is being held back or something is not fully genuine. This is not something you will be able to prove logically in the moment. And that is where many people make the mistake. They ignore what they feel because they cannot explain it. They override their intuition because everything appears acceptable on the surface. But tomorrow is not a day to override your awareness. It is a day to trust it even when it does not come with clear evidence. This person may approach you in a way that feels ordinary. They may start a conversation. They may ask a question. They may present something in a way that invites your response. And in that moment you will feel the signal. It will be subtle, but it will be there. And that is where your choice matters. You do not need to confront them. You do not need to challenge them. You do not need to react strongly. You simply need to remain aware, to listen carefully, to observe more than you speak, to avoid sharing more than necessary. Because discernment is not about reacting, it is about recognizing. The moment you recognize that something does not fully align, you naturally adjust your presence. You become more measured, more intentional, more aware of what you say, how you respond, and how much you engage. And that alone shifts the entire dynamic. Because not every interaction requires full openness. Not every conversation requires full access to your thoughts, your plans, or your perspective. And this is where many people expose themselves unnecessarily. They speak freely in moments that require caution. They trust too quickly in moments that require observation. They engage deeply in situations that only needed distance. But you are not moving the same way tomorrow. You are moving with awareness. You are moving with discernment. And that means you will know when to step back even if everything appears normal. There is something else you need to understand about this person. They may not even be fully aware of how they operate. This is not always intentional in the way you might assume. Sometimes, people move from their own confusion, their own pressure, their own internal imbalance. And that energy affects how they interact with others. So this is not about labeling them. It is about recognizing how their presence affects your clarity. Because the moment your clarity begins to shift around someone, that is where your attention should go. That is where you pause. That is where you remain grounded. That is where you protect your awareness. There will be a moment tomorrow where this becomes clear. A moment where you feel the difference between how you normally would have responded and how you are choosing to respond now. And in that moment you will understand why this message reached you. Because you will see what you could not fully see before. You will feel what you may have ignored before. And you will move differently because of it. This is not about avoiding people. This is about navigating interactions with clarity. Because not every connection is meant to be engaged with at the same level. And discernment is what allows you to recognize the difference. So when you encounter this person tomorrow, do not rush. Do not overengage. Do not ignore what you feel. Stay present. Stay aware. Stay grounded in your clarity. Because the moment you trust your discernment, you remain in control of your space, your energy, and your direction. Type "I trust what I feel" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activated around your discernment. There is something important you need to understand about tomorrow, something that shifts the entire way you see everything that has been revealed so far. This day is not just about awareness. It is not just about avoiding what is not aligned. It is not just about navigating carefully. There is a blessing hidden within this day, and it is not going to appear in the way you expect. Because most people look for blessings in obvious forms. They look for clear opportunities, positive outcomes, easy moments, smooth interactions. They expect something that feels immediately good, immediately rewarding, immediately clear. But this is not that kind of blessing. This is the kind that is hidden within awareness itself. The kind that reveals itself only when you move differently. The kind that you would completely miss if you were still operating the way you used to. Archangel Michael is showing you that everything you experience tomorrow, every moment of awareness, every pause, every decision you make differently is not just protection. It is positioning. Because as you begin to move with clarity, You are not only avoiding what is not meant for you, you are also aligning yourself with what is. And that alignment is where the blessing exists. It may not come as something obvious. It may come as something you always overlook. A moment where you choose not to engage, and because of that, something unnecessary passes you by. A moment where you pause before responding, and because of that, you avoid creating tension. A moment where you trust your intuition, and because of that, you step away from something that would have distracted you. At first, these may seem like small things, but they are not small. They are shifts, and those shifts begin to create space. Space where confusion once existed. Space where unnecessary pressure once built. Space where your energy is no longer being pulled in different directions. And within that space, clarity expands. This is where the blessing begins to unfold. Because when your mind is clear, when your energy is not scattered, when your awareness is fully present, you begin to notice things you would have missed before. You begin to recognize opportunities that are not obvious. You begin to see connections that are not immediately visible. You begin to understand situations in a way that gives you an advantage. This is not something dramatic. It is subtle, but it is powerful. Because clarity itself is a blessing, and most people move without it. Most people react, engage, speak, and decide without fully understanding what is happening around them. But you are not moving that way tomorrow. You are moving with awareness, and that awareness will reveal something to you. It may be a realization, something that suddenly makes sense in a way it did not before. It may be an understanding about a situation, a person, or even yourself. Something that shifts your perspective. Something that gives you direction. Or it may be an opportunity. Not something obvious or presented loudly, but something quiet. Something that appears in a moment where you are aware enough to notice it and steady enough to act on it correctly. But here is the key. If you were moving unconsciously, you would miss it. If you were reacting the way you used to, you would overlook it. If you were distracted, you would not recognize it. This is why everything you have been prepared for matters. Because the blessing is not separate from your awareness. It is revealed through it. And this is what changes everything. Because now, tomorrow is not just something you are navigating. It is something you are stepping into with purpose. Every moment becomes meaningful. Every interaction becomes something you observe with clarity. Every decision becomes something you make intentionally. And in that state, you are no longer just going through your day. You are moving within it with direction. There will be a moment where you feel this clearly. A moment where something aligns. A moment where you realize that because you chose differently, something else has opened up. And in that moment you will understand that what seemed like a day requiring caution was also a day carrying opportunity. That what seemed like a warning was also preparation for alignment. That what felt like awareness was actually guidance. This is the blessing. Not something separate from your experience, but something woven into it. Something that only reveals itself when you are fully present. So as you move through June 4th, do not just focus on what you are avoiding. Pay attention to what is opening. Pay attention to what becomes clear. Pay attention to what aligns when you move with intention. Because that is where the blessing is waiting. And it has been waiting for you to see it. Type I receive the clarity in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now activated around your path. Now listen carefully, because this is the final instruction. Everything you have heard, everything you have felt, everything that has been revealed to you up to this point now comes down to this moment. Not tomorrow, not later in the day, but right before you step out of your door. Because there is a final command being placed over your spirit, and it is simple, but it carries weight. Do not forget who you are the moment your environment tries to remind you of who you used to be. This is where everything will be tested. Not through something obvious, not through something dramatic, but through small moments where your old patterns will try to resurface. A familiar reaction, a familiar thought, a familiar way of responding to something that feels routine. And in that moment you will feel the pull to respond the way you always have, the pull to move quickly without pausing, the pull to engage without filtering, the pull to react instead of remain aware. This is where your decision becomes real, because awareness is not just something you understand. It is something you choose again and again in real time. Archangel Michael is not asking for perfection. He is asking for presence, because the moment you stay present, you stay aligned. And the moment you stay aligned, nothing can easily pull you off your path. There is something powerful about what happens when you remain present. You begin to move with control. Not control over others, not control over situation, but control over yourself. And that is where your strength is. Because when you are in control of your responses, you are no longer influenced by everything around you. You are not reacting to every tone, every shift, every situation. You are choosing, and that choice keeps you grounded. Tomorrow, there will be a moment where everything slows down internally for you. Even if the environment around you is moving quickly, even if conversations are happening, even if situations are unfolding inside, you will feel still. And in that stillness you will know exactly what to do. That is the confirmation. That is the moment where everything you have been prepared for comes together. Because you will not feel confused. You will not feel rushed. You will not feel pulled. You will feel clear. And that clarity will guide you. There is something else you must carry with you as you step into your day. You are not walking into uncertainty. You are walking into alignment. You are not stepping into something unknown. You are stepping into something you are prepared for. Everything that has been revealed to you has not been random. It has been precise. It has been intentional. It has been time. Because you were meant to hear this before you moved. And now that you have heard it, you cannot move the same way. You cannot ignore what you feel. You cannot dismiss your awareness. You cannot go back to reacting unconsciously. Because once you see clearly, you move differently. This is the final command. Stay aware no matter how normal everything looks. Stay grounded no matter how quickly things move. Stay present no matter what tries to pull your attention. Because everything you need is already within you. You do not need to search for answers outside of yourself. You do not need to second guess what you feel. You do not need to rush into anything. You already know. And that knowing is what will guide you. So when you step out tomorrow, step out with intention. Step out with clarity. Step out with the understanding that this day is not random. It is aligned. And you are ready for it. Type "I walk in alignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now activated around your path. As this final command settles into your spirit, hear this deeply. When you walk in alignment, you become a vessel through which God reaches others who are still lost in confusion. This message is not just for you. It is a seed meant to multiply across countless lives. The Lord declares, "Those who sow in faith will reap in abundance." And right now, your action becomes part of that living promise. I feel this strongly in my spirit. This is your moment to respond, not later, not eventually, but now. When you give through Super Thanks with a PayPal link in the description, you are not donating, you are sowing light into souls who are waiting for truth like this. Heaven sees it as obedience, not generosity. And I declare over you, as you release, God will release back into your life multiplied. pressed down, and overflowing. Step into this act now.